Alright, y'all, so I'm back with another Bible reading. I'm on page 218 to page 219. I'm going to try to get through like 4 pages today, and then I also want to make another video right after this just talking about some stuff because I had a really nice conversation with, well, the bug was just flying at me, but I had a really good conversation with, I think they were, I'm not too sure if they were atheists or if they were bi or whatever it was, but I just, I wanted to talk about that because I had a really good conversation and we both had really good points, and I just wanted to talk about that a little bit more. So I'll try to get all my thoughts together while I'm reading this Bible, and then I'll make that video. But for right now, I'm just going to read 4 pages of my Bible, and then I will make that video. So I'm going to start right here on page 218, and then I should end on 221. So Judges 16, Samson and Delilah. Each of us will give you $1,000 for this job, they promised. So Delilah begged Samson to tell her his secret. Wait, what? So strong, she pleaded. Why? Wait, what? Why you are so strong, she pleaded. I don't think anyone could ever capture you. Well, Samson replied, if you were tied with 7 raw leather bowstrings, I would become as weak as anyone else. So they brought her the 7 bowstrings, and while he slept, she tied him with them. Some men were hiding in the next room, so as soon as she had tied him up, she exclaimed, Samson, the Philistines are here. Then he snapped the bowstrings like cotton thread. And so his secret was not discovered. Afterward, Delilah said to him, you are making fun of me. You told me a lie. Please tell me how you can become captured. Well, he said, if I am tied with brand new ropes which have never been used, I will become as weak as any other man. So that time, as he slept, Delilah took new ropes and tied him with them. The men were hiding in the next room as before. Again Delilah exclaimed, Samson, the Philistines have come to capture you. But he broke the ropes from his arms like spider webs. You have mocked me again and told me more lies, Delilah complained. Now tell me how you can really be captured. Like, bro, she is really trying to get my man killed out here. Where is that? Tell me how you can be captured. Well, he said, if you wave my hair into your loom. So while he slept, she did just that and then screamed, the Philistines have come, Samson, and he woke up and yanked his hair away, breaking the loom. How can you say you love me when you don't confide in me, she whined. You've made fun of me 3 times now, and you still haven't told me what makes you so strong. She nagged at him every day until he couldn't stand it any longer and finally told her his secret. My hair has never been cut, he confessed, for I've been a Nazirite to God since before my birth. If my hair were cut, my strength would leave me, and I would become as weak as anyone else. Delilah realized that he had finally told her the truth, so she sent for the 5 Palestine leaders. Come just this once more, she said, for this time he has told me everything. So they brought the money with them. She lulled him to sleep with his head in her lap, and they brought in a barber to cut off his hair. Delilah began to hit him, but he could see that his strength was leaving him. Then she screamed, the Philistines are here to capture you, Samson. And he woke up and thought, I will do as before. I will just shake myself free. But he didn't realize that the Lord had left him. So the Philistines captured him and gouged out his eyes and took him to Gaza, where he was bound with bronze chains and made to grind grain in the prison. But before long his hair began to grow again. The Philistine leader declared a great festival to celebrate the capture of Samson. The people made sacrifices to their god Dagon, and big fly just came over here. And my nose is running again. excitedly praised him. "Our God has delivered our enemy Samson to us," they gloated as they saw him in their chains. "The scourge of our nation who killed so many of us is now in our power." Half drunk by now, the people demanded, "Bring out Samson so we can have some fun with him." So he was brought from the prison and made to stand at the center of the temple between the two pillars supporting the roof. Samson said to the boy who was leading him by the hand, "Place my hands against the two pillars. I want to rest against them." By then the temple was completely... Sorry, my eye itches. Excuse me. Was completely filled with people. The 5 Palestine leaders were there as well as 3,000 people in the balconies who were watching Samson and making fun of him. Then Samson prayed to the Lord and said, "O Lord Jehovah, remember me again. Please strengthen me one more time." Bruh, I gotta keep holding these pages. I don't know why I keep letting go. That's my fault. "Remember me again, please. Strengthen me one more time so that I may pay back the Philistines for the loss of at least one of my eyes." Then Samson pushed against the pillar with all his might. "Let me die with the Philistines," he prayed, or with the Philistines. And the temple crashed down upon the Philistine leaders and all the people. So those he killed at the moment of his death were more than those he had killed during his entire lifetime. Later his brothers and other relatives came down to get his body, and they brought him back home and buried him between Zorah and whatever that name is, where his father Menhoah was buried. He had judged Israel for 20 years. In the hill country of Ephraim lived a man named Micah. Oh, my phone fell. I think that's what it is. Micah. Micah. One day he said to his mother, "That $1,000 that you thought was stolen from you, and you were cursing about, well, I stole it." "God bless you for confessing it," his mother replied. So he returned the money to her. "I am going to give it to the Lord as a credit for your account," she declared. "I'll have an idol carved for you and plate it with the silver. So his mother took a fifth of it to the silversmith, and the idol he made from it was placed in Michka's shrine. Michka had many idols in his collection, also an ephod, I don't know how to say that word, and some taprin. And he installed one of his sons as the priest. Where was it? Installed one of his sons as the priest. For in those days Israel had no king, so everyone did whatever he wanted to do, whatever seemed right in his own eyes. One day a young priest from the town of Bethlehem in Judah arrived in that area of Ephraim, looking for a good place to live. He happened to stop at Michka's house as he was traveling through. "Where are you from?" Michka asked him, and he replied, "I am a priest from Bethlehem in Judah, and I am looking for a place to live." "Well, stay here with me," Michka said, "and you can be my priest. I will give you $10 a year plus a new suit. A new suit and your board and room." The young man agreed to this and became as one of Michka's sons. So Michka consecrated him. Considered? I have no idea. Consecrated him as his own personal priest. So Micah, I'm just going to say Micah, I think, Micah, Micah, not too sure if I'm right about that. Micah constructed him. I don't know if I'm even saying that right. I'm sorry. Micah constructed him as his personal priest. I know the Lord will really bless me now, Micah exclaimed, because now I have a genuine priest working for me. As has already been stated, there was no king in Israel at this time. The tribe of Dan was trying to find a place to settle, for they had not yet been driven out of the people. They have not yet driven out the people living in the land assigned to them. So the men of Dan chose 5 army heroes from the city of Zorah and Eshutail, I have no idea, as scouts to go and spy out the land they were supposed to settle in. Arriving in the hill country of Ephraim, they stayed at Micah's home. I keep messing up that name. They stayed at Micah's home. Noticing the young Levite's accent, they took him aside and asked him, "What are you doing here? Why did you come?" He told them about his contract with Micah and that he was his personal priest. Oh, sorry. Damn. My allergies are going crazy right now. My nose is running. Sorry about that. Okay. Where was I at? Arrived in hill country. Contract with Micah and that he was his personal priest. Well then, they said, ask God whether or not our trip will be successful. Yes, the priest replied. All is well. The Lord is taking care of you. So the 5 men went on to the town of Lisha and noticed how secure everyone felt. Their manner of life was, I don't know what that word is, and they were wealthy. They lived quietly and were unprepared for an attack, for there were no tribes in that area strong enough to try it. They lived a great distance from their relatives in Sidon and had little or no contact with the nearby villages. So the spies returned to their people in Zorah and Eshtaol. What about it? They were asked. What about it? They were asked. What did you find? And the men replied, Let's attack. We have seen the land, and it is ours for the taking. A broad, fertile, wonderful. Turn the page real quick. Ugh, my nose is still running. Wonderful place, a real paradise. The people aren't prepared to defend themselves. Come on, let's go, for God has given it to us. So 600 armed troops of the tribe of Dan set out from Zorah and, again, a name I don't know. They camped first at a place west of Jerim in Judah, which is still called the Camp of Dan. Then they went up to a hill country on Ephraim. As they passed the home of Micah, the 5 spies told the others, there is a shrine in there with an ephod. I don't know these names. I'm sorry. I don't know how to pronounce these. And terapiphium and many plated idols. It's obvious what we ought to do. So the 5 men went over to the house with all of the armed men standing just outside the gate. They talked to the young priest and asked him how he was getting along. Then the 5 spies entered the shrine and took the idols, the ephod and the teraphim. What are you doing, the young priest demanded when he saw them carrying them out. My reading is still horrible. Oh my goodness. What are you doing, the young priest demanded when he saw them carrying them out. Be quiet and come with us, they said. Be a priest to all of us. Isn't it better for you to be a priest to a whole tribe in Israel instead of just one man in his private home? The young priest was then quite happy to go with them, and he took along the ephod and teraphim and the idols. They started on their way again, placing their children, cattle, and household goods at the front of the column. When they were quite a distance away from Micah's home, Micah and some neighbors came chasing after them, yelling at them to stop. "What do you want chasing after us like this?" The, the men of Dan demanded. "What do you mean? What do I want? What do you mean, what do I want?" Micah retorted, "You've taken away all my goods and my priest, and I have nothing left." "Be careful how you talk, mister," the man of Dan replied. Somebody ought to get angry and kill every one of you." So the men of Dan kept going. When Micah saw that there was too many of them for him to handle, he turned back home. Then with Micah's idols and the priests, the men of Dan arrived at the city of Lycia. Lyas? I don't know. There weren't even any guards, so they went in and slaughtered all the people and burned the city to the ground. There was no one to help the inhabitants, for they were too far away from Sidon, and they had no local allies, for they had no dealings with anyone. Let me just read that again, because I messed that up. Of Lycia. There weren't even any guards, so they went in and slaughtered all the people and burned the city to the ground. There was no one to help the inhabitants, for they were too far away from Sidon, and they had no local allies, for they had no dealings with anyone. This happened in the valley next to Beth Rehob. Then the people of the tribe of Dan rebuilt the city and lived there. The city was named Dan after their ancestors, Israel's son, but it had originally been called Lyas. Then they set up the idols and appointed a man named Jonathan, son of Gershom and grandson of Moses, and his sons as their priest. This family continued as priest until the city was finally conquered by its enemies. So Micah's idols were worshipped by the tribe of Dan as long as the tabernacle remained at Shiloh, not too sure. At this time, before Israel had a king, there was a man of the tribe of Levi living on the far side of the hill country of Ephraim, who brought home a girl from Bethlehem in Judah to be his concubine. But she became angry with him and ran away and returned to her father's home in Bethlehem, and was there about 4 months. Then her husband, taking along a servant and an extra donkey, went to see her to try to win her back again. When he arrived at her home, she let him in and introduced him to her father, who was delighted to meet him. Her father urged him to stay a while, so he stayed there 3 days, and they all had a very pleasant time. On the 4th day, they were up early, ready to leave, but the girl's father insisted on their having breakfast first. Then he pleaded with him to stay one more day, as they were having such a good time. At first the man refused, but his father-in-law kept urging him until finally he gave in. The next morning they were up early again, and again the girl's father pleaded, "Stay just today and leave sometime this evening." So they had another day of feasting. The afternoon, as he and his wife and servant were preparing to leave, his father-in-law said, "Look, it's getting late. Stay just tonight, and we will leave. And we will have a pleasant evening together, and tomorrow you can get up early and be on your way." But this time the man was adamant, so they left, getting as far as Jerusalem, also called Jebus, I don't know, before dark. His servant said to him, "It's getting too late to travel. Let's stay here tonight." "No," his master said, "we cannot stay in this heathen city where there are no Israelites. We will go on to Gibeah or possibly Rama. Ugh. Sorry, I had to change the way I'm sitting. My butt's kind of hurting. Ugh. It's getting late. We should stay here now. Possibly Rama. Is my phone still recording? Yes, it is. I just had to make sure. So they went on. The sun was setting just as they came to Gibeah, a village of the tribe of Benjamin. So they went there for the night, but as no one invited them in, they camped in a village square. Just them and an old man came by on his way home from work in the fields. He was originally from the hill country of Ephraim, but was living in Gibeah, even though it was in the territory of Benjamin. When he saw the travelers camped in a square, he asked them where they were from and where they were going. "We're on the way home from Bethlehem in Judah," the man replied. I live on the far edge of Ephraim hill country, near Shelah. But no one has taken us in for the night, even though we have fodder for our donkeys and plenty of food. Dang. Plenty of food and wine for ourselves. Don't worry, the old man said. Be my guests, for you mustn't stay here in the square. It is too dangerous. So he took them home with him. He fed their donkeys while they rested, and afterward they had supper together. Just as they were beginning to warm to the occasion, a gang of sex perverts gathered around the house and began beating at the door and yelling at the old man to bring out the man who was staying with him so they could... What the hell? Sorry about that. A gang of sex perverts gathered around the house and began beating at the door and yelling at the old man to bring out the man who was staying with him so they could rape him. What the people, bro. People back then, man. The old man stepped outside to talk to them. No, my brothers, don't do such dastardly act, he begged, for he is my guest here. Take... What the What the hell? No, my brothers, don't do such dastardly acts, he begged them, for he is my guest. Here, take my virgin daughter and his man's wife, and this man's wife. I'll bring them out, and you can do whatever you like to them. But don't do such a thing to this man. But they wouldn't listen to him. Then the girl's husband pushed her out. Oh my gosh. Pushed her out to them, and they abused her all night, taking turn. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm not going to read that part. But yeah, they did exactly what you think they did to her. Bunch of fucking... sorry, excuse my language. Okay. I'm going to skip over that. Dawn, they let her go. She fell down at the door of the house and lay there until it was light. When her husband opened the door to be on his way, he found her there, fallen down in front of the door with her hands digging into the threshold. Well, come on, he said, let's get going. But there was no answer, for she was dead. So he threw her across the donkey's back and took her home. When he got there, he took a knife and cut her body into 12 parts and sent one piece to each tribe of Israel. Then the entire nation rose to action against the men of Benjamin because of this awful deed. There hasn't been such a horrible crime since Israel left Egypt. Everyone said, we've got to do something about it. So again, right here, I just want to make this clear. It's not saying that what they did was all right at all. And honestly, I don't see why he cut her into pieces. I feel like you could have just told people what happened, or maybe you could have gone out there and defended your wife. But, you know, I personally wouldn't have let people done that to my wife. I don't care if I died. I'm not about to let that happen. But, you know, this dude, my boy got scared. Then the entire nation of Israel sent their leaders and 450,000 troops to assemble with one mind before the Lord at Mizpah. They came from as far away as Dan and Beersheba and everywhere between and from across the Jordan and the land of Gilead. Word of the mobilization of Israel forced at Mizpah soon reached the land of Benjamin. The chiefs of Israel now called for the murdered woman's husband and asked him just what happened. We arrived one evening at whatever that name is, a village in Benjamin, he began. That night the men of Gibeah surrounded the house, planning to kill me, and they raped my wife until she was dead. So I cut her body into 12 pieces and sent the pieces throughout the land of Israel, for these men have committed a terrible crime. Now then, sons of Israel, express your mind and give me your counsel. So as one man they replied, not one of us will return home until we have punished the village of Gibeah. 1/10 of the army will be selected by lot as a supply line to bring us food, and the rest of us will destroy Gibeah for this horrible deed. So the whole nation united in this task. Then messengers were sent to the tribe of Benjamin asking, did you know about this terrible thing that was done among you? Give up these evil men from the city. And obviously, yeah, what the men did was very evil, but I mean, again, the husband probably should have stepped in to help instead of hiding in the house. And I definitely don't get why he cut her up into pieces. I feel like why would you, I feel like you could have just told them what happened, but I don't know. So that we can execute them and purge Israel of her evil. But the people of Benjamin wouldn't listen. Instead, 26,000 of them arrived in Gibeah to join the 700 local men in their defense against the rest of Israel. Sorry, I'm burping again. Among all these, there were 700 men who were left-handed sharpshooters. They could hit a target within a hair's breadth, never missing. The army of Israel, not counting the men of Benjamin, numbered 400,000 men. Before the battle, the Israel army went to Bethel first to ask counsel from God. Which tribe shall lead us against the people of Benjamin? They asked, and the Lord replied, Judah shall go first. Okay, so for now, that's all I'm going to read. That got pretty dark. I didn't expect it to get that bad, but it got pretty bad. And again, obviously, this is not, I don't think it's condoning what the dude did to his wife, and especially not what they did, because they're obviously about to get executed. But again, I don't think cutting her up into 12 pieces was the right move there. Again, if I was the husband, I probably would have came out of the house and I would have died for my wife. But again, maybe he didn't know what was happening. I have no idea. I don't remember if it said that he knew what was happening, but if he didn't know what was happening, again, cutting your wife into 12 pieces definitely wasn't the move there, my guy. I don't think God agreed with that either, but again, who knows? Well, no matter what, I definitely don't think God agreed with that at all. I'm sure God was looking at that like, brother, that's not the right thing to do, but okay. So those people are definitely about to get executed, as they should, 100%. So we'll read that messed up story in a little bit. I'll come back tomorrow, and again, I am about to upload another video as well, because I want to talk about some stuff, and I want to talk about how I'm doing today, so we'll talk about that in just a second. But for now, thank you all for watching. Sorry about that getting so gruesome. Sorry about my language as well. That just surprised me. I did not expect that, but hey, the Old Testament be getting crazy. I ain't gonna lie. People back then did not care. Even people nowadays don't care. People do worse stuff nowadays. So God bless you all. Thank you so much for watching. And if you haven't gone outside today yet, you should go outside and experience this beautiful day, because at least in Oregon, it is a very good day. So thank you all for watching, and peace out.